Awesome. Okay. So, you know, there's a couple of reasons why this service for me is really exciting and special. One, it's the fact that James was an intern in our church a few years back, and I was the intern director. And to just partner with him at this level is really exciting. Is that great? It's for me personally. I felt like a proud dad. Like, we get to do this together. Isn't that awesome? um, and then also for the couple that's going to share tonight, also were former interns here at the Coastlands with their family, and I felt it really important that they have an opportunity to share publicly like this in our services. Because I think what they have to share with you, you need to hear for this reason, that you will know them because they're part of the worship team. You will know them because they do something very public. And you will know them because they're awesome and friendly, and they get to know people really, really well, and they love people really, really well. But those aren't the reasons. The reasons are because I've been through life with these people. We've been through hell and back together. And I know that what they have to share with you comes from a deeper place than just being nice people. There's a depth to life that comes from allowing God to force those things that feel so hard and so big, to force those things to work for something good in you. That's Romans 8:28. The second part of that verse, He also predestined to so they be conformed into the image of His Son. That God's heart for us is to force those things to work together for the good, and that good thing is for us to be more like Jesus, in character, in faith, in deed, in action, in love. I want to introduce to you Gwyne and Ivan Ortiz because of that reason. So Gwyne and Ivan Ortiz, come on up.
Let's both help her. That's right.
It's taking me longer.
Love you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hi, everybody.
I'm like emotional. I'm like, oh. Yes, this is special. It's funny, as we prepared and prayed, and at first I'm like, yeah, let's share. That'll be exciting. You know, you get to the day of and you're like, what did we say yes to? Of course, I have nothing to say. But even just during worship, I felt so excited to just talk about Jesus with you guys. I feel like, and you know, we have a little system, so we'll kind of high five back and forth. But yeah, just thinking about it during worship, like, what a better opportunity than to really share what God's done in our life and to really talk about Jesus. Like, and if you know Him or not, it really is exciting to know that we are not alone, and to know that our life is purposed, and that there are bigger things outside of what we feel and see and know right now, that is for our good. There's so much good to be had. And so we get to share a little bit of how our highs and lows and all of those deep down dirty things that we've gone through
The in-betweens.
are a little bit here to share. So, tag.
The highs and lows and the in-betweens. If we had a sermon title, that wouldn't be it. But in fact, tonight as we speak, we'll come up with a sermon title, if that's okay with you guys. Yeah? No, I think this is something that we've been excited to do and nervous to do and excited to do, and then it goes back to nerves, but I think it's mainly excitement. Mm-hmm. It's always great when we can do something together. It's always great when you can do something with somebody that you love. And it's not just with my wife, as you know, as Michael said earlier, to do something with other people that you've had that common experience and that common struggle and victory. It's just an amazing thing. So we're very, very excited to be here. So thank you, Michael, and thank you, guys. Thanks for not leaving, by the way. That's always nice to come up and then, oh, it's them. Oh. So thanks for not. Yeah, so we are going to just tell you a little bit. I'm going to tell you a little bit about ourselves, And like Gwen said, we'll tag team a little bit because we like to work as a team, right?
Right.
And sometimes we'll finish each other's
Sandwiches?
sandwiches. It's not what I was going for, but sandwiches, sentences, it's all good. I'll give you just a little snapshot into who we are. I'm Ivan. This is my wife, Gwen. And we are the parents of 3.5 kids. And some of you may be like, what? For those of you who know us. And we'll get into that a little bit more. This is the half, by the way. And he's due up in...
3/4.
3/4,
Yeah.
huh? 5/6.
Yes.
He's due up very soon, and he'll be making his appearance, Lord willing, May 18th, which happens to be our anniversary date. And we're very excited about... I know, it's cute, right? Can you do? Actually, something really cool. I know it says short, all caps right here, so. But just really, really cool. This is actually something... I'll just say very briefly. When they gave us our due date, when we found out we were pregnant, I did the math. And for the husbands, right, that are out there, and dads, that when your wife tells you, hopefully it's your wife, the first one to tell you, you just never know these days. I got another funny story about that too, but I won't go there. So when your wife tells you, honey, we're going to have a baby, I'm pregnant, then I start doing the math. I'm like, okay, did it give you, what's the due date? Or, oh, we don't know yet, it's too soon. And so I did the math in my bonehead husband math school in my brain, and it came out about May. And I just thought, like, Lord, how cool would that be with what we've been through and what our story has entailed? That'd be really cool, God, if you could, if the due date would be like on our anniversary. That'd be really cool. So we go and get confirmed that, yes, she's pregnant, and yes, it's a baby, and yes, due in May. Well, May what? And said, well, due date is going to be May 18th. And then it was so, I could be facetious with this, but I won't. It was really so, it was great. It was like God was saying, I'm bringing into fruition. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the fruition
I didn't know
first.
This. Exciting.
You didn't know that?
No.
Do you know I'm a Pisces? Pisces. I don't know what that is. No, it was just really cool to have received that news. So, yes, sorry, May 18th, baby. Okay, so short bio, real quick. So Gwen and I, we moved up from LA area, where we had been working a little bit in the entertainment industry, and then a little bit on the opposite end of the spectrum in ministry, ministry. And so we moved up here. I was an associate pastor, and Gwen was my wife, and she still is. And we moved up, and it was actually through Evan. I don't know if any of you guys know Evan Brown. People ask us, so what brought you guys up to Santa Cruz again? And we say, well, do you know Evan Brown? They're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Didn't even tell a story, just the name. That was enough. But he had invited us to be here for a year because the invitation was a 2-part. It was then to go further on and go church plant with him. And he said, we were asking, well, where are we going to go after that? Well, I don't know. Where, well, who else is going to join us? And he's like, well, I've got a friend of mine and his girlfriend now, but they're going to get married, and I think, they're going to be included. I think that was James and Casey. So when we moved up here, and I only say James and Casey because now just being here with them and living life and sharing what we get to share with them is such a special thing that I've grown to love them all that much more. But I digress. So we moved up with the intention of being here for a year, and shortly after, and I mean shortly after, I had it all figured out, by the way. We're Skyping with Michael and Priska, and they said, you guys come up, and we're like, how are we going to come up? We had our first son, Finn, and he was about 3 years old at the time, and we were pregnant with our second pregnancy. And we said, what is that going to look like? We're not exactly like in college or fresh out of high school or something like that. And Michael said, don't worry, let us worry about that. If God is in it and you're hearing from God and we're hearing from God, we're going to make a way. And you guys totally did. In fact, I'm confident that there are many hands in this room right now that got to put their skills to use in accepting us and receiving us, not just in your hearts, but really with your hands. They built a bathroom for us. They built toilet, shower, sink, the whole thing up in what was a dorm room. They turned that into a place for us, and that just spoke so much to us. And so anyways, we moved up with the intention of just 1 year, and shortly after we discovered that it's going to be a little bit longer than a year. And the reason for that, I was saying I had it figured out. When I first got here, it was love, mend, train, send. I told Gwen earlier, just speak slowly and you'll be fine. And here I am going 1,000 miles a minute. Love, mend, train, and send. And I looked at Michael one day and I said, hey, we're here for a year, so what? The first quarter is love, right? The second 3 months is mend, right? Then we'll get the balm, right? And then so forth and so on. And he just looked at me in his Michael-ish way, and he just kind of chuckled and said, Ivan, don't worry about it. It'll most likely be love, mend, love, train, love, mend, train, love, lots of love. So we got here, we discovered that it's going to be longer than just 1 year. Shortly after arriving, we went through what the most difficult situation in our lives, in our marriage. And there were actually two things. One was a complete dismantling, and I mean that in every sense, the complete dismantling of our marriage. We went through the roughest time, and a lot of that, all of that, was my fault. And so there were some choices that I made in the past that were not what God intended. This isn't what I'm intending for your marriage, Ivan. And I held on to those things. And when I got here, there was so much loving and mending and training and loving and mending that I couldn't hold that in any longer, and I had to tell my wife. So after 2 years of holding things inside, I opened up to her and I told her everything. And that wasn't even easy. That was a lot of covering up. And that was a lot of things that I was trying to still make myself look good. And it wasn't my fault. And all of these other things. That happened, that opening up happened about a week before we went to go and deliver our second child, our second baby. And we didn't know, by the way, what this child was. If it was a boy or girl, we were going to hold on to it as a surprise. And it was a Sunday, I recall. In fact, we were both sitting right back here. And again, for those dads, when you're looking at your wife right before, her belly right before baby's due, and the baby's like doing a weird movement and stuff, it's like, whoa, there's really something in there, and that's what was happening. And so that was the Sunday. Baby was due that Saturday, and that was a Sunday morning, and Monday we went to go deliver.
Is that the tag?
That's the tag.
That's the tag. So yes, so 7 months pregnant, we feel very strongly God says, go to the coastlands, which took us a long time for me to decide on, do we go, do we not? This is ridiculous, getting a new doctor. I mean, it just feels so kind of just not the practical choice. And so after Evan prayed for us, it was funny. He really affected our lives in such a huge way. I felt strongly, because Ivan this whole time, he had such a peace that he didn't tell me, which was good. I think he really wanted me to hear from the Lord. So he just let me take my time in praying and really asking God, do we come here? And so when I felt God say, go and go now, like it's urgent, I was like, okay, I'm ready. And Ivan's like, great, let's go. And Michael and Priska were very kind, and they were kind of like, 11th hour, we need to do some things before you come. Are you coming? So we get here, and it was kind of, you never know what to expect in life. And I think as much as you can plan and pray and really feel at peace about something, it really is a surrendering of what's to come. And so we just felt excited. We felt so excited. We felt, in the season we were in down south, it was such a challenging time for us ministerially speaking. We just didn't even know the concept of covering and people who knew you and checked in with you and prayed for you. And so coming here was like the biggest breath of fresh air. And so Sunday, baby's moving, all the checkups were normal. We come Monday morning, contractions, we go to the hospital. And after 4 ultrasounds, I didn't clue in, they're bringing in the big guy. Okay, what's going on? Well, then the doctor comes. Clearly they were delaying. Our doctor looked at us and said, we see the heart and it's not moving. I'm sorry, your baby has passed. And so, it's funny. It's so funny. I feel like it's not that emotional, but it is. And so, in that moment, it was like the most bizarre thing, and looking back was very, again, I'll get there with the grace, because it was so the Lord's grace. It was like immediately I was like, yes, God's going to do a miracle and he's going to use me. The baby's going to come back. There was not a second of what? It was almost not even like an excitement, but just like, nope, thank you for the news. Great. The baby's going to come alive. I just knew it. And so every person that came in, the anesthesiologist and the nurses, and just so the baby's coming back. If you want to see a miracle, hang on. Stay tuned for 6 more hours, go through labor and all of that. And, the pastors and people kept coming, and they were the second they heard, we're praying for a miracle, great, we're praying for a miracle, spread the news kind of thing. And so we just prayed. It was literally 6 hours, and each time different people would come, we would just pray again, and we'd pray again, and we'd pray with the nurses, and we'd pray with this other guy. And it was just a time where it was God, you are real, and this is how people are going to know you're real, is by a miracle. I just know it. And so little baby Eden was born, our little daughter, which we didn't know was a girl until she was born. So that was kind of a special thing. Special, and that's my name, Lord. That was a whole nother thing. And I was looked at Hillary about, 20 minutes later, okay, what do we do? I still believe God can bring her back. I don't know what to do. We just keep praying. And she said, we're here for you. We're going to pray until you feel that God has something for you. But we're with you. We're praying. And so shortly thereafter, I felt very strongly that God said she's alive with me. And so it was kind of that moment of okay, Lord, you just have this. You have a different path for us. This is now our story. This is now just a piece of kind of honor that I felt. I felt in the same time of having to accept it, I really felt God was many are called but few are chosen. Kind of you get to carry this story, and it has led to so much just amazing conversations with people. And it was funny, I felt weeks and weeks and weeks went by, and I definitely would have moments of really, God, why this? You're sovereign. I really feel such a peace, but why this? But I would remember asking even Michael and Priska, am I not mourning? I feel like I can talk about it freely. It doesn't make me upset when people ask, because you get the where's the baby? It's, inevitable. And, it's more awful for the people who get the news than it really was for me. Their faces were like, ah. And so, but I was like, am I not grieving this? And they were like, no, that's God's grace. Like, God's grace is really upon you. To just little things. I mean, even the fact that we didn't want to know the sex, which was like never an option for me. Like, I want to know this sucker who's in my belly. So, but that was like, okay, Lord, you protected me. Like, I didn't come home to everything monogrammed in pink. And so I felt like God really knew. And it just also paved a way for just conversations with so many people who were like, oh my gosh, me too, and nobody knew, or how do you go through this? And it was more of like, it's not me, I promise. It was really God just really standing with me and for me and over us. But that was definitely just a total blow. I mean, you wouldn't expect it, wouldn't know how to prepare for it. But again, seeing how God was like, get here now, and you are now surrounded by these people. And we were surrounded. I mean, God bless Michael and Priska. They were like knocking at our door all the time. How you doing? What's going on? How you doing? What do you need? I remember one night, I just love Rice Krispies. Like an hour later after dinner, plate of Rice Krispies just delivered to my room, or Rice Krispie treats. I mean, just like, who does that? Like, it just was so family and love, and we had space, but we had family and love. It was just fantastic. And so we now have a little garden at my parents' house called the Garden of Eden, and have a cherry tree in her honor there and stuff like that. So we're able to kind of commemorate, because it was also like, what do we do? I didn't know her, but she was my baby, but I own her, but that kind of tricky place. But yeah, it was definitely a challenging time. And still there's moments where I'm like, that'll be a question, Lord. Not really sure about that one, but I definitely feel very much so like this is just another way that we can show the Lord's power in us through the hardest of times. He is with us and he is for us, and he has ways to navigate life. So yeah, that was that little moment.
Amen. Let's pray. Just kidding. Sorry, we still got some time. Ooh. I feel like that really is the bulk of what we want to share, is that there's a way out. And okay, I'll just stick to the notes. There really is so much. There's so much that we have learned, that we have been given, so many tools, so much grace that has been extended, that 40 minutes or an hour or a year wouldn't be enough time to go into all the details. And but that having been said, I do want to honestly, anytime you guys, any questions, anything more that you want to know, please, that we that it doesn't get answered within the next few minutes, please come ask. We are, I've always said, my life is an open book. It's not a very pretty one, but it's open. And so if it's ever in the interest of helping somebody else, absolutely, please. Eden means Garden of Delight. And it was